What's wrong with having a DUI, several DUIs, and running for mayor?
There's nothing wrong with having several DUIs and running for mayor. It becomes a choice of the voters of whether or not they believe that there's good judgment, when in fact there are times when you have to have solid, sound judgment. So that's a choice of the voters. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
There's a bigger issue here, in that this would be the first time ever dark money played into a city campaign. And while there's distance between dark money PACs and the campaign, the people behind this are people that have been longtime supporters of yours. With the huge increase in the campaign financing for this race, this would blow financing sky high. You didn't comment on this. We were thinking that you might come out and say, no, I'd rather not see dark money. I'd rather see our campaign funding limits respected.
Look, I would tell you, first of all, I have no knowledge. If in fact they're doing what they do, then they do what they do. I'm not part of that. If in fact someone wants to say something negative about my opponent, you know, that's not part of what I do. I don't do that. I haven't done it in the past, and I don't intend to do it in the future. I do, however, will point out the fact. I know that when I was in the primary, I was the sole point of everybody's attack. I just sat up there and everybody attacked me. It didn't matter who it was, whether it was this councilman, that councilman, this business person, you say. And so now there's between two of us. And I raise a legitimate issue around what would be a thing of a sense of judgment and taking responsibility. I am not in support of people who want to do negative things or undermine other people in that way, because I don't do that. I don't do that.
Will you disavow those people then?
Disavow? I've just said that I'm not in support of anybody or anything that it does that kind of. I have never done it in the past. No,
I guess I'm saying explicitly say that even though these attacks are on my behalf, you know, I do not want this kind of behavior to continue, whoever this may be on this committee and what they're doing.
Yeah, I just said it.
And Mr.
Just say
Reed,
well, one thing, I need to ask one question though. How is it that it's in his literature though?
You've also
it's in the literature.
Criticizing the mayor for his age,
right.
which was also striking. And so wanted to hear your thoughts about doing that.
Well, I mean, that was an off-the-cuff joke. I mean, if you listen to it, it was a total off-the-cuff joke. It was a joke centered on the fact that Lincoln and Douglas had a debate, and I'm not old enough to remember the Lincoln and Douglas debate because I'm not as old as he is. That's all it was. It was a totally off-the-cuff
Well, I'd suggest
joke.
You take my literature as being off-the-cuff around DUI.
Well, I think having a disease is not a joke.
Well, you know, and I think
getting old
is not a joke.
Well,
if you're able to get there, you probably better understand and appreciate it. You know, it's not good for the goose, not good. You know, what's good for the goose, good for the gander. If someone else would have come out and have been my opponent, then whatever issue that was legitimate, I would have raised it. Whether somebody lived in the city of Cleveland, where they had other kind of convictions, whether or not they were Republican or Democrats, you know, those kind of things, I would have raised it. You know, during the primary, I was the sole source of everybody's attack for whatever, whether it was about age or whatever it might be, right? And so I'm pretty sure that as it narrowed down, they were pretty sure that I would be one of the candidates. So they did their strategies based on that. Now I have one candidate before me, and that's Councilman Reed. And I raised what I believe a legitimate issue around judgment and accountability. Because this is the mayor's office. This is not the Boy Scouts or some other kind of organization where you don't have the kind of intense decision making and the pressure and adversity that exists in this office, and there's a lot of pressure. And I believe that's a legitimate point to raise as people make their decisions. Do I personally dislike the councilman? No. Do I, you know, have I ever dogged him out about anything? No. But I do believe this is a legitimate concern.
So you think it's a legitimate concern, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
That I and many others are addicted to maybe drugs or alcohol or gambling, and it's proven that it's a full-fledged disease?
No.
And you believe?
No, I don't believe. I believe it's a legitimate concern since I've had the opportunity to deal with people who have been addicted and close to me. That I believe is a legitimate concern to say that under certain circumstances and pressures and situations that they always don't use best judgment. That's what I'm talking about. It is not the disease itself. It is the condition that of decision-making and judgment that I am concerned about and that I raise. It's not about the disease. I'm totally familiar with the disease.
So you don't believe that people can get help?
I'm not saying that. I'm totally familiar with the disease. I know people who have gotten help, and they function very well.
So you don't believe that when people go get help and they continue to get help in the rooms of AA and other rooms when they go in and get the help, that they now can function well in society?
Councilman, I have no problem against anybody with addiction. If I did, then it would be against having a problem against people I love. So I don't have any problem with people having an addiction. I do, however, have the experience. And I know that under certain circumstances and conditions, and particularly when it's very adverse with a lot of pressure, judgment comes into question and accepting responsibility comes into question.
So you don't...
That I know. It has nothing to do with the addiction. It has to do with a person who has a propensity to not be able to use proper judgment and accept responsibility for their actions.
But you know...
I'm sorry,
Okay,
because
that's
we
right.
go round and round, but I do want to kind of put on the table the question that, you know, the mayor's kind of asking, which is, if you do become mayor, considering the fact that, you know, you have struggled with this disease, it is a very high intense office, should the voters be worried about you if you accept this, if you win this job?
No.
And I believe that's the voters' choice. That's their choice.